Let's talk to the historian and documentary maker Michael Wood. Michael, welcome. Good to see you. Let's cut to the chase and all the political waffle. Historically, who's right here, the UK or Greece?
Well, it's Greece, of course. The marbles were taken by Lord Elgin 200 years ago when Greece was an occupied country, part of the Ottoman Empire. And even at the time in Parliament, there were people who said that we can only have them on trust, and we should give them back when Greece becomes an independent country. And the majority of the population of Britain, according to all the polls, 2/3 of people support their return. So I think there's an overwhelming case, and especially overwhelming, that the marbles are divided between Athens and London. So we can't see them as a whole because part of them are in London. So they should all go back to Athens. And I think if they do all go back to Athens, it could be a great plus for the British Museum. It claims to be the museum of the world. And it would be setting a great precedent, because repatriation's in the air now.
Michael, museums across the world would be flinching at your words and the suggestion that all relevant exhibits should be returned to their original owners. There'll be nothing left.
No, nobody's saying that. Two things. Most museums across the world are not stacked with loot from the colonial era. Most museums are not. And nobody's calling for the full restitution of everything. The British Museum's got 100,000 pieces from Greece. The Greeks aren't asking for all those back. They're only asking for the Parthenon marbles because of their importance as symbols of Greek civilization. And I think it would be a wonderful gesture, a very magnanimous gesture. It shouldn't be done through gritted teeth as if they're being dragged screaming to do it. It could be a real plus.
It sets precedent. If you give these back to Greece, then why not give all the other disputed treasures back to their original countries too?
Well, I think each case on its merits. There's been quite a few restitutions, for instance, of the Benin bronzes to Nigeria that were all stolen by the British in a military expedition of 1897. We could talk about China. What about the loot that was taken from the British sacking of the Summer Palace? Pieces of which regularly turn up in auction these days. I think each case on its merits. But in terms of the Parthenon marbles, the Greeks are only asking for these back, and we should give them.
Is it too lame to simply suggest they could be loaned, and that would be a very British compromise, would it not?
It would be a British compromise. I don't think the Greeks would be very happy because you'd want the ownership to change. You'd want them to be owned again by the people of Greece. So my Greek friends, one or two of whom I've gone into the British Museum and looked at these things, and you see them through Greek eyes, and there's a sense of pain as Greeks look at these wonderful things in a foreign museum. And I think the Greeks would like ownership to be transferred, and ownership can be transferred. The law can be changed.
You can forgive a British Prime Minister who's a long way behind in the polls, wanting to run away from this decision, can't you?
No, I think it's absolutely pathetic. I agree with the Labour judgment on this. What a way to... Britain and Greece go back a long way. The British Philhellenes actually fought in the Greek War of Independence, and like Lord Byron died in the Greek War of Independence. There was a period in the Second World War where Britain and Greece stood alone against the Axis powers. Britain has a very long and affectionate relationship with Greece, and the idea that our Prime Minister refused to talk to Mitsotakis is just, well, it diminishes our Prime Minister.
Michael, I think we now know your position on this controversial subject. Lovely to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming on the programme. The historian and documentary maker, Michael Wood.